Welcome to the world of Rowan Astrology. I'm David Charles Rowan. And before we begin exploring the gold mine of astrology, please remember to like and subscribe. This channel would be nothing without your kindness and support, so please feel free to return and explore the growing content, and of course your comments are always of value. So truly, thank you.
I know what you mean.
Right. Okay. This is there was a power cut earlier, and it's made all my settings go a little bit awry. So I have no idea why it's doing what it's doing. Right. Okay.
The weather.
Yes.
We blame everything on the weather.
Blame everything on the weather. Right. And something else as well, something deeper than that. Right. So a question for both of you. Are you ready for a question?
Not really, but hey ho.
Okay then.
Yeah, I feel the same as Mary.
All right. Well, I don't know how else to discover the information unless I ask you about it. So
It's okay to ask a question, David.
Right. Okay.
Sorry, I forget you take things so literally.
Of course I take things literally. I'm autistic. It's what we do. Yes. Now, do you remember?
Oh, that's Julie.
Do you remember the myth of Hercules and the Hydra well enough to recount it to someone in a conversation without looking it up?
No. I know of it. I remember, I recognize the names.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you what the story is.
Right. And what was your answer for that, Sandra?
Same as Mary, no.
Okay. Right. And
I know Hercules and the Pillars of Hercules.
Say again?
I know the Pillars of Hercules, a living one.
Well, yes, indeed. But yes, here we are talking myth rather than geography. Something just went twinkle on my phone, and I don't know where it was coming from. Now, the next question, because there's three, right? If somebody asked you to recount the myth of Pluto and Persephone with reference to Ceres, would you be able to do that without looking it up?
No.
No.
Okay, right. And the third question, if somebody asked you to recount the myth of Irana and Eshkagel, or known as the descent of Inanna, would you be able to describe that without looking it up?
No.
Partially.
Okay, so that's still a no, because you wouldn't be able to recount all of it, right? Okay.
Okay.
Right. Now, my reason for asking these is that these myths are incredibly useful when discussing dynamics of anything Plutonic, whether that's the planet Pluto, the eighth house, or the sign Scorpio. In fact, they describe the workings of its core so clearly and so well that that's why I talk about them a lot, right? So I've made some notes and things, and I thought I'll ask you that first because it seems quite pertinent to actually talk about those myths when we do the eighth house introduction. Okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to know where you were with them, so that it would have an effect on the conversation we're about to have, because I could reference it, right? But it's okay because we're going to talk about those myths at the beginning of the eighth house introduction, or when we get to that part of it, anyway. And it will be very, very useful for you to go for the ride on those legends, all right? Because they do describe some of the internal workings of the unconscious. Now, talking of which, there are two ways that we can talk about the deeper unconscious, and if you like, or let's put it another way. In our contemporary society, there seems to be two sorts of responses to the notion of a deeper unconscious. One is talking about the unconscious as function. Right? So speaking about the unconscious and its mechanisms and repression as a psychological function that is neither good nor bad, it's just a thing that takes place. Okay?
Yep.
Yeah. So I can't see you nod, so you have to do verbal response, right? The other thing is another way that contemporary society seems to relate to notions of a deeper unconscious is as if it's a terrible thing, like some kind of bogeyman, in that it's going to get you, right? Have you ever heard anybody talk about unconscious dynamics as if they're a bad thing, a frightening thing, a scary thing, a terrifying thing?
Yeah.
Or even yourself having fear of looking into the unconscious or making connection with it or having dialogue with it, fears of something within us that has control and that we're just like a passenger in a bus being driven along by something else. A lot of people fear losing control. And yet, conversely, weirdly, or no, not conversely, not controversially, paradoxically, that'll do. Yes, paradoxically, they haven't got that much control to begin with, you know, or at least when we say they. Now, when talking about a person, oneself even, uh, do you ever, when you're talking to people, do you talk about yourself as if you are a unit, like a singular object, using the word like I this or I that, or you might use the word you for someone else, or they or she or he? Do you ever do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you ever separate the parts of a person and talk about them as individual constructs in their own right? So, for example, say, oh, someone's thinking that with their conscious mind, but their unconscious is doing this. Do you ever think like that?
Yes.
Good. Right. Now, as astrologers, that's kind of what we've been doing all along, isn't it? So we've been looking at ourselves as the expression of a solar dynamic, but also a lunation dynamic, and a mercurial part, which is different to the Venusian part, and different again to the Mars bit. Yeah? We've got a Jupiter set of beliefs, a Saturnian set of karma and fears and successes, etc. So, if a person in the UK wanted to learn psychology, if someone was 17, they said, "Oh, I want to do psychology at college," there's a very high chance what they've got in mind is something along the lines of learning about Freud and Carl Jung and maybe Melanie Klein or Bion or Winnicott or Bowlby, that kind of thing. Does that make sense for you?
Yes.
Me.
Right. And people who do counseling courses learn that stuff. Right? But if you do psychology at degree level or master's degree level or PhD level, you don't look at any of that stuff. All of those things I've mentioned, Freud, Jung, Klein, etc., they are parts of what they call psychodynamics, psychodynamic theory. And psychodynamic theory is just that. It's a set of people who've come up with models of human behavior that don't necessarily have an accurate relationship with reality. Okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah? No. Sorry, I can't see you nod. So you have to do a verbal response. Otherwise, I don't know if you've heard me or if you've acknowledged what I've said or anything. I know it's a pain, but you are choosing to be non-visual, so I can't respond to your visual body movements because I can't see them. Right. Okay. And I need to know that you are following with each step before going on to the next one, because there's no point in me losing you behind. That's worse. I'd rather wait until I know that you're there. Okay. So in academic, if you want to call it that, psychology, um, uh, psychodynamic theory is just a small subset of things. And they look at things like brain and behavior, neuroscience, and things like stats as well, rats and stats. Right? There's a big thing on rats and stats in thing. As one person said it, psychologists have got white coat syndrome, right? And they've got physics envy, and they want to turn human personality into a science, something that could be mathematically calculated and etc. Or in a social psychology lecture, the course leader, the master of science and psychology, the course leader said in one lecture, "Do you know, I actually don't think psychology is a science anyway." And all these young students went, what, in uproar of what the person's telling him, because they're spending all this money on time on a thing, and the person running it is saying he doesn't even think the thing is a thing. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, I get that, right? Because I'm older and I've thought about it a lot. Can you reduce human behavior to, you know, zeros and ones? Um, Not really. So, um, in terms of then this unconscious dynamic, we know because we've talked about things a little bit that the function of the unconscious is to protect you. It keeps you alive. Right. Now, one thing we can definitely say about our lives, this moment in time, is that we are alive. Right. Quick check. Are you breathing in and out? Yeah. Are you metabolizing? Yeah. Therefore, you are successful. From a Darwinian perspective, as an organism, you are successful. Now, your opinion of your success is another matter, right? That's just subjective opinions. But the fact is that you're alive and your brain has managed to keep you alive successfully up to this moment in time, and let's hope continuing for a lot more, right? But that's something you can state as an absolute fact without any argument. This means that everything you've ever done has been a component of your successful life as a as an organism that is able to maintain its life on planet Earth. Do you agree with that statement?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that any of the things you've done or experienced are beautiful or fun or terrible or dramatic or subtle or huge or small or slight or trivial or major or, you know, those are opinions about the things that you've experienced. Right. That's not the same thing as saying that your ecosystem, your biology, has kept you alive up to this point. Okay. Now, what the brain does, of course, is that when it encounters phenomena, things in the life or circumstances and things, it develops kind of coping strategies, handling strategies to be able to deal with phenomena. And because your brain is good at keeping you alive, and we know that by virtue of the fact that you are alive, this means that all the things you've done in the past have enabled you to maintain your life. Therefore, it's a good idea to do them again. So just imagine that uh, your optic vision sends a signal to your brain saying, I am standing on the edge of a piece of grey texture. Uh, just in front of that grey texture is a slightly darker coloured texture. It's got some white lines dotted along the middle, and further to my left and my right, I can see metal objects moving at speed. And your brain then says, what is this? And it very quickly recognizes that you're standing on a curb in front of a road. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
right. And so your brain says then, in a millisecond or less than a millisecond, what do I do with this? And it says, oh, what did we do last time? And it scans back through every single time that you've ever crossed the road. And it looks for patterns, patterns of successful behavior, because you're alive, check, yeah. You crossed the road before, check, yeah. What did you do before? Because whatever you did before, if you repeat that now, you'll be alive. So if, perchance, your crossing the road strategy happens to be dashing in front of fast moving traffic without waiting for the little man at a pedestrian crossing, then your brain would go, oh, well, that works. Do it now. And you'll just run out. And people say, oh, he's always doing that, right? Because the brain is just doing the behavior that it learned works. It's possible for a person to go into a booth and purchase a box. And the box says on the outside of it, this will kill you. And they open the box, take out the contents, set light to it, then stick it in their face and go, what a crazy thing for an organism that's 87% water to do, to breathe in fire, to put carbon into its lungs that hasn't got the ability to do anything with the carbon that is being put into it. And it says on the box, this will kill you. Wow. But the person's unconscious is doing something that it's done before, that it's done before, that it's done before, that it's done before. So, although as an observer, we might watch the person dash in front of traffic, and we might watch a person set light to cigarettes and then breathe it in and think that person is mad or crazy or stupid, right? The person's conscious mind might actually have a different opinion to their behavior. They might say things like, I've got to stop doing that. I must use the crossing. I know it's going to kill me one day. Or they might see things like, I should stop smoking, really. I don't want the kids to smoke, and it costs a lot of money. I don't want to have cancer either. And yet they carry on doing it. So, if a person's conscious mind, if a person, what you might think of as the I of the self, as in, you know, the individual, the perpendicular pronoun, I don't mean the I mean the sense of self, the being. If a person says, I want to stop eating chocolate, I want to go to the gym 3 times a week, I want to do da 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 da, and then their behavior is different to what they're declaring, this lets you know that there are two sets of agenda running inside the individual. Right? There's the part of them that they're consciously aware of that wants to stop eating cake or go to the gym or take care of their health or whatever it is. And there's another part of them that is driving behaviors that are running contradictory to their conscious desires, their expressed desires. And yet that contradictory behavior seems to be overpowering or overwhelming the person's needs and wants. Have you ever observed this kind of behavior in people?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, indeed. So, now one way of thinking of it is that everyone's mad. We're just all nuts, right? Or you could think everyone's self-sabotaging and that we as a species are a self-sabotaging creature. You can think like that. Or you can think of it another way. And that is that if you could dissect the person's psyche, their persona, into parts, like we've already done with the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, etc., and say there's a part of the person's unconscious which is driving things. And sometimes it drives behaviors with reference just to itself and not with reference to the whole being. For example, if there was a person, say Jeff, right? If Jeff smoked cigars when he plays cards with Gary on a Friday night, and you said to Jeff, would you like to stop smoking cigars? And he says, actually, yeah, I would. Okay, so you're going to suggest that he stops. But first of all, you're going to find out where the issue is. So if you said to him, okay, well, if you did stop smoking cigars, Jeff, what effect would that have on your health? It's marvelous. I'd be looking after myself. My skin wouldn't be dry. My lungs would be better. I'd get my breathing back. I might get my mojo back. Right. Okay. And what effect would it have on your finances? So that would be brilliant. I wouldn't be setting light to my money all the time. Right. And what effect would it have on your home life? I'd be fantastic. The kids would be better. I won't be teaching them to smoke. The wife would be happy. The wallpaper wouldn't smell of cigars. It'd be brilliant. Right. And what effect would it have on your social life? Oh, it will kill it. Unless that dynamic is dealt with, he'll just carry on because all drugs come packaged with a culture, and all cultures come packaged with associates, friends, acquaintances, mates, and chums. And if you change your drug culture, then you literally have to change your society as well. Because Jeff only accepts invitations to Christmas parties that are being run by pit householders who smoke, because he doesn't have to stand outside in the snow and have a cigar on Christmas Eve. But if he goes to a smoker's house, everyone's smoking in the house. If he stops smoking, he can't go to the smoker's house because it would drive him mad. So he has to go to the non-smoker's house, but he doesn't know them. He hasn't gone to a non-smoker's house for 20 years. So he's going to miss his friends and he has to start all over again making new friends. That's one of the reasons why it continues. It's not the only one, but it's one of them. Right? So when you start to explore people on a deep dive level, you start to get into the areas where these kind of the roots of behaviors and the roots of the causes of behaviors kind of reside. Okay, so far?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this all very familiar information to you?
See, a bit.
A bit,
Yes, mostly.
mostly. Excellent, good. Let me know if there's anything new. Let me know if it's all familiar, right? I'm hoping by now most of this will just be familiar. We are getting to some things, by the way, right? I'm just making sure that we're all on the same page, if that's all right. Now, have you ever heard it say that after World War II, every now and again, somehow the authorities would find that in the hundreds of tiny little islands in the Pacific Ocean or the Indian Ocean, they'd find a lone Japanese soldier who didn't know that the war had ended. Have you ever heard of that?
I have, yes.
Yeah. And these guys, they were on these islands, isolated. They'd see like a passenger airliner fly overhead and they'd shoot at it, right? Because they don't know the war's over. And they'd have disease, they'd be eating rats and lice and all sorts of things. They'd be going half mad because they've been in isolation for years. Do you know when the last one was?
No, not exactly.
No.
It was 1977, the last one.
It wouldn't surprise me, yeah.
That's 30 years. But have you ever wondered how did they get them out?
Don't know.
I just wondered if you ever wondered it. Right?
No, no, I haven't wanted it, but I don't know how they would get them out.
You
Yeah,
mean
because
from their islands?
yeah,
No, I haven't wondered about it either.
no, because I mean, there's a conundrum, isn't it? If a load of American soldiers turn up on the island to kind of, say, Brick, hey, bud, the war's over, come back. Is he going to believe them? How is he going to respond if he suddenly sees American troops? What do you think?
He's going
He's
to be
got to shut it
terrified
down.
because he's
Is
Japanese.
is not, yes.
So he's not going to understand the language for a start.
Well, it's not just that. He's going to shoot them, isn't he?
Well,
Yeah.
if he's got any bullets left, it depends
If
on how
he,
many bullets he had in the first
well,
place.
yeah. But if he's got amber, but even if he hasn't, he'll throw spears and arrows, right? They are the enemy.
Well,
And
they'll just laugh at him because he's only one person.
that doesn't matter what they'll do. What's important is how you get this guy out. Because just imagine it.
He'd be feral.
Imagine if someone is so determined to honor their emperor and follow the rules that they'll stay put on their post for 30 years in total isolation. Imagine the intensity of that dedication, right? And if they're going to shoot at an airliner, not knowing about the advancement of aircraft technologies and things, they're also going to shoot at anyone who looks different to him. They can't napalm him out. So they came up with a way of doing it. And that was They kept a World War II battle cruiser, and they'd get a World War II general and put him in his World War II uniform and float the World War II Japanese battle cruiser close to the island. And then the general would get in a little boat on his own and he'd go onto the island. They'd search the island and eventually he'd find the man. And on realizing the dedication that this person had put into maintaining his post, fulfilling his promises, doing his duty, the general would collapse in tears at the magnitude of his depth of service. And then he would tell the man that the war's over, and he'd tell him that they'd lost. And then the man would cry. But it didn't end there. They'd float him back to the World War II Japanese battle cruiser, go back to Japan, and he would have the hero's reception down the main street in Tokyo. All the ticker tape and women screaming out the windows, and a huge, huge public celebration. Because this person was fulfilling his orders without wavering in the most extreme of circumstances. Could you imagine what would happen if you said to that man, guard this entrance? How well would he guard that entrance? If you said to that man, uh, you know, fire this catapult towards those pigeons, he would fire the catapult towards the pigeons, right? Wow, you could put him in any job you like, and you know that he's going to do his duty to the utmost. So that's what they did. They literally re-employed him. He was brought back into the society that he belonged to, updated, integrated, and then put to good purpose, with rewards, obviously. And that's how they used to do it. Right? Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, every single human behavior, all of our responses, reactions, things we do, come packaged with a defense mechanism. Part of the reason for the defense mechanism existing is that let's just imagine, right, that there's a person who, there's a person, I'm trying to think of something really weird. There's a person who paints strawberries, right? And I don't mean on an easel. I mean, they literally get a strawberry and paint it, right? A person who paints strawberries. And they love painting strawberries. They feel brilliant when they paint strawberries. Painting strawberries is what they do, right? And painting strawberries, because it's such a repeated thing that they do, becomes part of the topography, if you like, the ecology of their life. It's not just an action, it's part of their meaning, it's part of their personal mythology, it's part of the landscape of their being. So if someone comes up to them and says, "Oh, you, that's really silly. Stop painting strawberries." "I shall not. I shall carry on painting strawberries." And they'd start to get defensive. They'd start to get feeling flustered. Someone is trying to take away their magic strawberry painting, right? They would become highly defensive about it. They could even become rude. They might even, if someone tries to take the strawberries off them, lash out. "Keep away, get off my strawberries and leave my paints alone." Could you imagine such a thing?
Yeah, that doesn't
Obviously, this is a silly illustration because I'm being very careful to not touch on anyone's buttons, right? I
Okay.
doubt very much that any of us are strawberry painters, therefore it's a safe topic.
okay.
But it's illustrative of a dynamic. And I'm just asking, do you get the dynamic of it? That a human behavior has a defense mechanism packaged into it. And when someone on the outside attempts to change that behavior, that defense mechanism deflects and pushes them away.
Yes.
Yeah? Even to the point of murder in extreme, right?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Or writing a furious letter to the Times in a more subtle sense. But it's still, the feelings are still there. So the Japanese guys on the island were brought out of that situation into a brand new paradigm in a particular way. The NLP, you might have heard of neuro-linguistic programming. NLP is the name that was given to a body of written knowledge that came out of observing therapists. So there were various therapists working in California, about 70% of them with iffy success, and a few who were absolutely brilliant, highly successful at what they did. And the two guys who did these observations and wrote this material down in the first instance was a guy called John Grinder and Richard Bandler. And they were on their way to a radio interview. They've been running workshops, uh, sharing their knowledge that they've been observing with other therapists. And there was a buzz beginning to build. This is about 1972, 73. And on the way to this radio thing, they realized they didn't have a name for what they were doing. And they knew that people are going to ask, so what is it you're doing? They can't say, well, we do watching and then learning and then teaching. Right. So Bandler was reading neurology and he was a computer programmer. John Grinder was a linguist, so they called it neuro-linguistic programming. And they come up with this name because it would make people ask them what it is. Because if you say hypnotherapy, people have an idea what that might be. Their ideas might be right, their ideas might be wrong. But as soon as you say that term to somebody, they start talking to themselves and they're not listening to you. If you tell someone, I do squibbly bob, they don't know what squibbly bob is, they have to ask you, which means that in that moment they're receptive to a response rather than talking to themselves. Does that make sense? Good.
Perfect.
Yeah. So one of the things they noticed was a strategy that's very similar to the guy on the Japanese island. Right? And that is that successful therapists, when a person, if you happen to stimulate a person's defense mechanism, I just want to talk about that a minute, how easy it is to do. Right? Um, just imagine that there's I know, a 14-year-old boy who's on a day visit on his own to a town that he's not used to. He doesn't usually go there, or he's in a different area of the town he's in, but he's in a strange area, and he goes into a coffee shop. And while he's in the coffee shop, a gang of lads see the stranger come in, and they start bullying him, and he reacts a bit, and they beat him up, and he's beaten up in a coffee shop. Very unpleasant. Years later, he goes to Cambridge University and he does very well. He gets a 2-1 and he's got a CV that reads like a gold mine, but he can't get a job. Can't get, just no, can't get a job. He goes for hundreds of interviews, you know, and when he sends his CV, they go, "Yeah, give him an interview quick, because this guy's brilliant, right?" And yet, every time he goes for an interview, something happens, and he doesn't get offered the job. And after 2 or 3 years of this, he starts to think there may be something wrong with me, you know? And then after a little more while, he'll think maybe it's just I'm unlucky. Maybe it's not my destiny. Maybe it's just my karmic path or something. So then he starts to believe that he's unemployable, so he stops trying. Could you imagine such a scenario?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, one of the reasons that he can't get a job is that every time he goes in the reception, 10 minutes before the interview, he goes up to reception and says, "Hello, my name's Jeff. I've got an appointment with Mr. Smithson. at 10 o'clock. Oh, yes, yes. Take a seat. Mr. Smithson will be with you shortly. Can I get you a coffee? And every time someone says, can I get you a coffee? His brain receives the word coffee and it has to go, what's that word? Coffee. Have we ever encountered coffee before? Just like the road. Have we ever encountered coffee before? Yes. When did we encounter coffee? Ooh. And straight away he's back in that calf, being beaten up. And while he's being beaten up in the calf, his brain is recording what he can see, what he can hear, what he can feel, what he can sense, what he can smell. And there's a very pungent smell of coffee in his nose while someone's doing that to him. And he's being humiliated. The amount of emotions, there's humiliation, there's being beaten, there's a loss of self-confidence. He feels utterly crushed psychologically, emotionally, physically, and it's all integrated with the smell of coffee. So he goes into an interview feeling really confident because he's brilliant. But as soon as someone says the word coffee, it fires off a thing in his brain because neurons that network together fire together. So when the component of smell of the coffee is stimulated, the entire network of getting beaten up fires off. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
So someone says coffee just before he goes into an interview. He goes into an interview, but his chin is down, his shoulders are rounded. They ask him, so what's your ambition? He says, oh, yeah, I want to do well. They think, what's wrong here? Because on paper, this guy is brilliant. And yet his personality is sort of subdued. And it seems that he's incongruent. The unconscious of the interviewer detects incongruence in the person in front of him. The words are not matching with the actions. They might not consciously think that, but they can feel it in their tummy. And they have this funny vibe. And his behavior, his manner, his lack of confidence, his lack of self-assertion puts the interviewer off. And so he gets passed over in favor of others. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, he won't be able to do anything about that until someone, very cleverly, comprehends that it's all about the coffee and then helps his brain to change its response to the word coffee. And until that's done, that pattern will just continue and continue and continue because it's keeping him alive. You see, it's protecting him from getting beaten up. That's important, isn't it?
Will he not realise that he's behaving that way in interviews and question it?
But that means his conscious mind has to be aware of what's going on. Of course, it isn't, because all of these are unconscious patterns, which means the conscious mind isn't aware of them. He would also have to understand psychology well enough to know that the olfactory component of an experience is wired into the auditory sound of the word coffee and figure out, oh, right, when someone says that word, I have that feeling.
Yes, I understand that part, that
Yeah,
it's deeper, that you
yeah, I
might
know.
need to explore that with a therapist or something.
Well, I would agree. Yeah, hopefully he'd explore that with a therapist who's also studied neurology.
But I don't get why he wouldn't be aware of his
Oh, a lot
behavior
of
in
people,
an interview.
a lot of people aren't aware because, like I said, some people, you see, some people look inward. Some people are on the path of self-mastery. Some people do this, what we're doing here, right? But other people don't. Other people just look out into the world and instead of wondering what role they play in the co-creation of events, just see a world full of things to blame. A lot of people do that. The headlines in the news give you an idea of how many people are on the path of self-comprehension, self-understanding, self-mastery. How many people think about how they think, for a start? You know that Mercury is very close to the sun, and
Yeah.
quite often Mercury is in a different sign to the sun sign, like mine, right? A lot of people think that their thoughts are who they are, not realizing that who they are is their sun and their thoughts are their Mercury. So a person's thinking style can be very different to their sense of identity. A very, very subtle thing. Astrologers understand that, but there are very few people in the population that study astrology, certainly at this depth.
Yes, I understand that. But
Yeah.
even if you go into an interview, even before I started doing all this kind of work,
Mm.
if I gone into, well, whenever I went into an interview, when I came out of it, I would be aware of how I had behaved in that interview. I mean, this was before I'd even heard of NLP.
But
Um,
would you have been aware of the fact that your chin was slightly down?
um,
Would you be in
yeah,
a,
I
would you
would
have
have
been,
come out of the int
mm,
I when I went into interviews, I either came out thinking I did really well, it went really well, I
mhm.
had a good rapport with the interviewer, or there's only one, I've only ever been to one interview where I didn't have a rapport with
Hmm.
there were three of them, a panel of three.
I know that scenario been there.
And I came
But
out and I mean, they offered me the job eventually, but
mm,
I didn't feel that it had gone very well. I didn't feel positive about it.
right here, we're not talking about whether an interview goes well or not
Mm.
from the interviewee's
But what
perspective.
I'm trying to understand how someone can, like you're describing, not
Mm.
me, but another human being who's had the experience that you've described, can go into so many interviews and not be aware of their behavior.
It's not their behavior, it's subtle body language. A behavior is, you know, getting a thing and doing that. There's a behavior. It's obvious,
Mm.
conscious, big, and seen. But other behaviors like this, or perhaps this. Some behaviors are like this. I'm going to say a sentence, the same sentence, three ways, right?
Okay.
The cat sat on the mat. The cat sat on the mat. The cat sat on the mat. Very subtle differences in the way that the sentence is pronounced and enunciated. When a person's feeling inwardly deflated, but they don't yet know it, but their body knows it, you'll find their sentences trail off. Another thing that happens if a person's got an emergence of fear coming into their body is that they start to become less attentive to the outside world and more kind of slightly introversion. It's like their attention's going inwards into these feelings, right? So it seems to the person on the outside that they're not quite with it. They're sort of lost in what's actually happening is they're going into memories, right? But they don't know
Yes,
that yet.
I
Yeah.
understand that.
So if a person's doing that, but they're not interested in psychology and things, they haven't got Mercury in Virgo. Some people are unaware, right? These the dynamics are unconscious, which by definition means the person doesn't know they're happening.
Yes, I understand that.
That's the thing of it. And that's why I said that a person who has these repeated things can start to believe that it's something to do with their luck, that it's
Okay.
their path, that they're not born to it. Because such a person can think, well, they're lucky because they always get the job and I don't get the job. Therefore, it's about luck. It's not about me. Because some people have notions that you're either born to have lucky stars or you're not,
Yes.
right? And so when you have evidence from the world telling you this is the case or that's the case, it starts to get reinforced, especially if your social group, etc., talk that way. So all sorts of things can stimulate. I mean, your response here, right?
Mm.
You're a person with Mercury and Virgo. So when you encounter a scenario of a person who doesn't have Virgoan thinking, they're not prone to self-analysis. So they're just moving through life without thinking about it. That causes you to be perplexed,
It does.
right?
It does.
And that
It's
indeed, and
perplexing
that
me beyond
yes,
belief.
that causes you to have an emotional response to that, right?
Mm.
So you've just demonstrated a very tiny, very slightly little tippy tappy of one of your buttons, right? And that's your emotional response. And your laughter is an indication that that's accurately what's taking place, right? Because it's your releasing affect, right?
Yes, I know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the reason for my ridiculous, stupid illustrations is that hopefully they're so different to our life experiences that no one's being kind of stimulated any further than they need to be, right? So this pattern of observation was something that Banner and Grinder in their NLP writings called pace and lead. Just explain both of these. Um, the word pace in this instance means to match. Right? So just imagine that this is someone's paradigm of life, right? And can someone give me a hobby? Just a hobby. Could be one of yours, could be someone else's. Just mention a hobby.
Painting.
Painting, right. Okay, so just imagine that this person, this one here, the hand, right, they've got a hobby which is painting, right? And an outsider says, "Oh, you like sketching, don't you?" It's not, it's not quite fit, is it? I mean, it's art, but it's not quite a fit. And then a different person says, "No, I know what they do. They like mending old cars, antique cars. That's way off. That's nothing like painting." So if someone says, no, 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 they do painting, that's an exact match. Now, when someone says something about us, or we say something to ourselves about ourselves, that is an exact match for our paradigm of how we see ourselves, it fits. And because it fits, we can take that in. That goes inside our body. If someone says something that's way off the mark, now that goes off, nothing. It just gets rejected outright. So if someone said to me, "Oh, David, you're a centrist person with left-wing leanings," I go, "Yeah, perfect fit." If someone said to me, "Oh, you're a Marxist," no, not a Marxist. If someone said to me, "Oh, yeah, yeah, well, Farage and Reform, they're your thing," no, they're not. Right? They get a strong reaction with that, right? That's a definite rebuttal, right? If someone says something that's slightly, so if someone said to me, "Oh, right, David, yeah, you're a Liberal Democrat," it's not quite me, but it's not quite not me. It's sort of, yeah. So then I've got a choice then. I can either change myself to fit what they're saying, because it's not that much of a change, or reject what they're saying. So when someone says something that's an almost fit, we tend to accept it into our body, even though it don't feel quite right. When someone says something to us that's an exact fit, we go, "Yeah, you got me. That's right." When someone says something about us that's not a fit at all, then it just gets rejected. So, in order to pace, as it were, match the guy on the island, they had to enter his reality. Look how he looked, appear how he expected things to appear, say the things you would expect he would expect to hear, talk in the language that he thinks in, right? And only then, once he was matched, could they then begin to create change so that he could become something else. In therapeutic world, and by that I'm extending that to the entire breadth of society, right? Some people attempt to help people by pacing without leading. This means they attempt to join in with a person and that's it. One of my old students used to say, "Yeah, I know that technique. Yes, a problem shared now means two people have got it," right? So imagine that there's a brand new counselor, right? They've been, it's their first week as a counselor, just done their training, brilliant. And their first client comes in and says, yeah, I'm depressed. And they're told that you got to kind of, you match your client. So they go, yeah, yeah, I know how that feels. I've been depressed. So the depressed person says, yeah, how long have you been depressed? They go, oh, I've been depressed for years, really. And they just go, now you've got two depressed people. Have you ever seen anybody do that? Where they join in with someone else to such an extent that they become like a clone of where they are.
Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah.
Right. Now imagine the
I
converse.
call it the doom and gloom syndrome.
Yes, right. Now imagine someone who's trying to lead but without pacing. That's the kind of person that says, sort yourself out, get a life. Imagine that. Imagine that you're an organism. Right. Are you alive? Yes. Breathing in and out. I'm metabolizing. Yes. And another organism soldiers up to you and says, hey, you go, what? They go, get a life. You think, I've already got a life. Why are you telling me to get a life when I'm already alive? That's nuts. That's not what the communicator means, but it is what the communicator says. And because it doesn't match the recipient's model of life, because they're alive, they're being told to get a life, it's just a misfit. It just gets rejected. You need to sort yourself out. Get on with it. You need to get out there. People used to say to me, you need to get out there. I go, what do you mean? Do you mean open my front door? So I open my front door, I stand on the doorstep. What do I do then? Because for all the people that have ever said to me, get a life, no one's actually, or get out there, no one's actually told me what to do other than go through the entrance of my dwelling. What I need is an ABC, do step one, step two, step three, step four, step five, step six, with time frames. That's guidance, right? But very few people are very good at that, which is sad, really. But they're very good at pontificating and telling people you must do this, you must do that, you must do this without any detail. And that leaves the recipient now in not just the state that they were in originally, but now with additional anxiety because they've now got, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Maybe there's something wrong with me, anxiety added to the original problem. However, imagine that there's someone on this side of the river and they're stuck. There's some stepping stones, and there's someone on this side of the river. And the person on this side of the river over here says, hey, it's great over here. And this person says, oh, it's terrible here. There's no food and I'm starving and I'm hungry. I really do need to get over there, but I don't know how to get over there. And they say, well, there are the stepping stones in the river. Yeah, but I don't know how to do stepping stones. I've never done them before. So the helpful person crosses over the stepping stones, holds their hand, and says, follow me, and then walks them back to the other side. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So in my NHT training course, we work on our own stuff. None of it's role play. What happens is that people are given some information, they're told about a particular technique, they get into pairs, and invariably each technique begins with the words, think of a problem. So the person thinks of a problem they have in real life, something that they want to sort out, and their partner then runs the technique that they're exploring in the context of the problem that they want to look at. Sometimes there are some techniques where these problems are mentioned, and there are other techniques where the problem is not mentioned, and you just do the change technique and the person finds that their problem changes without even discussing it, because all you're doing is changing synaptic pathways rather than getting involved in content. So through the whole training, we work on ourselves, which is like advanced therapy at the same time. But there's one role play technique, right? What happens is that two people get into a pairing, person A, person B, and in a moment, person A throws themselves into a full-blown panic attack, right? Fast breathing, wavy hands, panicking, right? Fully physically panic attack. Their partner, this is done with a stopwatch, their partner has 60 seconds to get them from being freak out panic into relax. How does that sound so far? 60 seconds from
Yeah.
panic to relax. Oh, there's another caveat, and that is they have to do this at screaming volume rock music. So in the room, there's Motorhead playing really loudly, right? So loud that you have to shout to get heard, right? And the practitioner has 60 seconds to get a person from going panic attack into being relaxed in 60 seconds without using their voice. Because you might be at a rock concert or in a crowded thing or a festival or something, and someone starts to have a panic attack in the front row, and the paramedics can't get to them. So you've got to help someone out without using sound. And every single one of my students always manage it. No one's ever failed that. How does that sound to you?
It's very good, actually.
It's rather cool. I was some people phoned me from Swindon one day towards the end of the 90s saying, we've done practitioner training with a guy called Seymour in Bristol. We've heard that you're doing a master practitioner program. Yes, that's right. Oh, right. We'd like to sign up. I said, yeah, okay. I think we better meet. So I went to meet them, and they were in a building in Swindon that had, I don't know, about 4 floors. They were on the third floor up, right? And we're on a table by a window. Down in the road below, there was a roadworks. And so while we're talking, you could hear dig, 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 the roadworks kind of going on, traffic coming in and out. We're having a chat and a talk, and they said to me that I'm a good example of unconscious competence, which is a compliment in the NLP world, meaning that you look like you know what you're on about, basically. And they said, so can we sign up? I said, yeah. The only thing is, I know you've done Seymour's practitioner training, but that doesn't let me know that you know what my students know. So you might have to uh, take the exam. They said, oh, exams, you have exams. Yeah, I have exams. There's a practical exam and a written exam as well. And I said, see that roadworks down there? And they kind of looked out the window and went, yeah. I said, if a kiddie got hit by a car just right now and was bleeding and mum started screaming and someone's called an ambulance and there's an ambulance at the end of the road, but the traffic's blocked it and you can hear the siren going do 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 do, and there's this guy doesn't know, he's got headphones on, he's still going dug 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 dug, and the mother's screaming and the mum screams, making the child's heart beat faster and it's bleeding even more. Could you get that woman to calm down in 60 seconds in order to rescue her child's blood loss right now? And they said, no, no. I said, no. All my students could. And they signed up because they realized that there was a particular strata of dealing with people that they hadn't even touched or gone there. So this pacing and leading technique essentially is matching someone. And then as soon as you've matched them, then you change, right? You pace, match. And as soon as you're connected neurologically, you then move, right? So, yes, if someone's depressed, you can say, I know how that feels. They go, yeah, yeah. And I know how it can be changed. And you lift yourself up. You lift your chin up slightly, you know, and you say something optimistic that's honest. Like, because it's possible for a human being to build themselves ladders to get out of a hole, then I know we can do this. They go, yeah, yeah, and you're on. They start to get a sense of hope in their body because if you've matched them so that their down crumpled self gets your crumpled self, and then you inflate yourself, it'll inflate them neurologically in how they feel, in the way their chest is open, in the angle of their chin coming up. And because their body is in a different proprioceptual shape, their emotions will change. They won't know why it's happening. Their body will just do it. Okay, so far.
Yes, thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah? Okay. I think it's time we had a look at some information. Don't you? Um, right. These times when uh, a person has uncomfortable things coming to the surface, again, there's two different ways of being able to view this, right? We talked about the unconscious as a thing of function, but also the unconscious as a thing to fear. So now we're going to do that with abreactions. Oh, by the way, the word abreaction is the word that hypnotherapists give to the re-stimulant triggering of repressed content coming back up into the body again. Okay? So I know that modern New Agey types call it triggers. The hypnotherapy word is abreaction. I tend to use that word more than trigger because I'm taught in that frame. So I'll use the word abreactions. All right. Now, I do have something here to share with you. Where are we? Hold on. Right. Let me know. Oh, by the way, first of all, can you see this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So on the left, we have a paradigm of failure. And on the right, we have a paradigm of success. Can you see the difference between the two?
Yes.
How would you describe the difference between the two?
Well, the paradigm of failure, the little person is going uphill, then something interferes with his
Hmm.
progress. He goes uphill a little further and then has a very rocky road to the bottom.
Well, indeed. And you notice here it says fear
I
of
need to put my
mistakes.
glasses on. I can't read that.
I'll read it out. It says fear of mistakes, embarrassment, fear of failure, fear of success. So a person begins to learn to walk, and a part of the process of learning to walk is that you will make errors and fall over. That means that you will feel embarrassment, especially if someone's watching. That might stimulate a fear of failure, but you can also have a fear of success because if you're seen to walk 2 feet, people will start expect you to walk 4 feet. Right? And as soon as a person feels those feelings of fear, they have a choice. They either stop in order to get out the feelings of fear or they carry on. So, failure is what happens when a person stops. It means that they don't get up further, they just stop there and they've got the faded promise of what could have been, but they never reached it. In the paradigm of success, exactly the same thing takes place. The person goes into the chaos zone and then they continue and they do a thing called period of learning, balance practice. And as they do their balance practice, then they have their new status quo and they can walk. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah? Right. And this happens with every human skill. This happens with doing birth chart readings. First time you ever go at reading a chart, you go, oh my God, spotlights on me, and all that kind of thing. And then after, 200 or 300 times you've done a chart reading, you just learn how to walk with it and balance yourself. Same thing happens if you're going to sing a song. Same thing happens if you're going to, play centre court at Wimbledon for the first time, etc. One of the reasons that we admire people who are highly skilled at something is because we instinctively know they've gone through this to get to that, right? If someone's developed playing a banjo or walking a tightrope or being at Wimbledon, whatever it is, to such a high degree that they can control themselves internally while they're being masterful in their behavior, that sense of inner power coming out as external power is incredibly alluring, because that's a state that we all recognize as highly competitive and competent, right? And it's enchanting when you're in front of someone, even if it's someone playing AC/DC on bagpipes in a Glasgow high street, which I've seen on video, just amazing, right? I'm not that keen with the sound of bagpipes, but highway hell on bagpipes, it's like, whoa, just brilliant, you know? So there might be certain occasions when we're talking about anything like this where you feel as if you're in a bit of a fresh zone. And I just thought I'd pop this in just in case anybody with any, I don't know, Mars in Virgo, Mercury in Virgo, Sun in Virgo type tendencies, uh, just might sometimes shy away from doing something new. And yet, if you have the courage to go through it and allow yourself, give yourself permission to feel embarrassed, give yourself permission to make mistakes, give yourself permission to be frightened of failure and yet give it a go, and give yourself permission to be frightened of success and give it a go. In other words, giving yourself permission to learn. Okay, right. This is a way of looking at abreactions from the perspective of it being a fearful bogeyman of counseling and therapy. Yes. Oh my God, the client hit a an abreactive spot, and now they've got stuff coming up. When a person has repressed material locked up inside them, and it suddenly finds a release hatch, imagine, if you will, that inside a person's brain there are dungeons in the lower regions, right? And there are these emotions, memories that are being pushed into these dungeons because the conscious mind finds them unacceptable, or the conscious mind can't deal with it right now, right? And then suddenly the jail warden falls asleep and they can burst out. Like there's a jailbreak, and all these parts go, right, get up to the surface. So the person's suddenly got all these emotions coming into their body. And these emotions are attached to meaning, they're attached to memories. Some of the emotions might be physical, but without any words and without any pictures. So the person's got feelings, but they don't know what it is. Their tummy's doing a flip, and they don't know why. They just feel terrible because there's no memory attached. Other people can experience the opposite. They can have words, but there aren't any feelings or vision, but they can just hear stuff. Other people have the pictures of things, but they're not having the emotion or the sound, or a mixture of any combination of the three, right? So, some kind of hypnotic input, sentence or event, goes to the person's conscious mind. The conscious mind receives the data. This is then evaluated, and the subjective conclusion is my state of consciousness has altered. I can now access data stored in my unconscious. This goes to the next stage. Repression. The resolution of issues are held in suspension and may be stored in a main representational system, sight, sound, taste, smell, etc., until requested. But this has been stimulated, so it's now going to recall. I can now allow my conscious mind to experience thoughts and feelings which have been forgotten. This goes up to the conscious mind, so now they're becoming consciously aware of all this stuff. And this goes to output. Output can be expressed as bad feelings or upset, emotions or fear or anger or hysteria. Okay? So if you ask people, do you like being triggered? There's a high chance they say no. Would you agree with that?
Sorry, can you say that again, David?
I said, if you asked a lot of people whether or not they like being triggered, a vast majority would say no.
Yes, I agree.
Yes, but there are some people that would say yes. Let's have a look at this other paradigm. Abreaction as function. It begins the same. Input sentence or event, conscious mind receives the data. The subjective conclusion, this is too painful right now, so it gets pushed down into the repression box. Resolution of issues are held in suspension and may be stored in a main representational system, sight, sound, taste, smells, etc., until recall is requested, which has just happened. Recall, I can deal with this now. Conscious mind receives the data. Now the output is expressed as self-realization, self-discovery, learning, growth, and aha. Okay?
Yeah.
It's exactly the same process, but the difference is the output. Because in the fearful version, what's coming up to the surface is uncomfortable. Therefore, it's bad because a lot of people are conditioned into this notion that anything bad is uncomfortable and everything uncomfortable is bad. So imagine that a person's got a boil on their arm, right? Huge boil on their arm, and they're frightened of lancing the boil. So they protect it. They've got a boil shield, right? And they're walking through well with their boil shield, and people say, "Oh, hello. Oh, you got a boil shield? Yeah, I've got a boil shield. Are you going to get it lanced? No, no, I'm not going to get it lanced. No, I'm really protective of my boil. It's very sensitive, very tender. Don't bash me. It's very tender." Could you imagine a person walking around for years protecting their boil shield, terrified of the mess when it's lanced? Ooh, the smell. Oh, it's going to be really gross and uncomfortable, man. But they can't heal. They can only heal when the lance boil's been lanced, all the pus has been cleared out, all of it, and only then can the wound be cleaned, and only then can the healing take place. So this boil shield becomes incredibly tender and sensitive. You go anywhere near it, even sniff like you're looking at it, and they'll react. Right? Don't nudge me, don't push me, don't get too close to me. Right? Could you imagine such a scenario? So when a person has something in there that's buried in their repressed state, they will have very powerful dynamics of wanting to protect uh, what they're experiencing, and they can go to great lengths to try and protect it all. Okay, so how can we help them with this? Hold on, I'm just trying to get to my thing here. I did have another image to show you, but it seems to have disappeared. So I'm going to have to talk with you. Right. So one way of helping the person with this when something comes up is to begin to um, encourage them to see it in a different way. So if first of all you have to pace, right? And so say something along the lines of, um, I can see that you've got uncomfortable feelings coming into your body. And those uncomfortable feelings may be rooted in an event or a memory. What can these feelings teach you now as you look at this memory or this event from the perspective of where you are today? And that can begin a process, like a dialogue, of getting the person to not just experience what's coming up, but to reevaluate it in a way that can be useful and to kind of give you the opportunity to add some new elements into the meaning of what they're experiencing by talking about how it can realistically be a sign of hope. You know, because one thing that always happens is that whenever the unconscious feels that it's safe enough to release something, it will release it. And it only does that because it feels safe enough to do so. So the very fact that someone's kind of got a load of stuff coming up in a conversation with you lets you know it's a backhanded compliment, but they feel safe enough around you to allow it to come up. Sometimes, when powerful emotions come up to the surface, they can do so with a flood of tears. Sometimes, when powerful emotions come up to the surface, they can do so in a whirlwind of rage. And if you're on the receiving end of it, it can be very interesting to have to deal with it, right? But that's one of the reasons why, in the therapeutic world, you never work on your own. And but meaning you never work on the people who are close to you in life. All right. It's always better if someone else does it because if you abreact and stuff comes up, if you're in a partnership and you're screeching at your partner, then you're going to be sitting with them at the breakfast table the next day, and that's going to have an impact on your relationship. Whereas if they're a stranger in a therapeutic consultation, whether that's on live or, online or live, um, it's okay because the therapist is taught how to deal with that in the aftermath anyway. So it doesn't affect your personal things. Yes. How's this so far, guys? Is it stimulating any thoughts for you?
Oh, it's okay. It's okay for me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But is it interesting? Is it enjoyable?
Yes, of course.
Well, I don't know. It might not be. I would never assume that of course, it's all right. That's why I'm asking.
It is
Yeah, cool. Uh, so what are you getting from this so far, Sandra?
a lot of revision.
A lot of revision.
Yeah.
Okay.
Things that I had sort of maybe forgotten a bit.
Oh, right. Okay, so it's useful in that sense.
Yes.
Cool. Mary, what are you getting from this so far?
Um, a deeper understanding of how different I am from so many other people.
Oh, right. Oh, that's always a useful thing, isn't it?
I
Yeah,
suppose it is, yes.
yeah. I mean, yes, I know you have a lot of planets in the sign of self-analysis.
Mm.
So it's very, very natural for you, but there are other people who don't have that and they flounder, you know. Yeah. Is Julianne here? I know that Julianne's logged in, but I don't know if Julianne is uh verbal or not. I'm going to take that silence as a no. Okay.
If she's at work, she may be just able to listen
Yeah, yeah, indeed.
rather than actually connect.
Yeah, yeah. If you can hear us, Julianne, can you type a what do you call it? Like the messenger thing in
A
this
message in the chat.
a chat, yes, or just say hi in the chat if you're able to. But then again, if it's on the phone, Julianne might be new to that, so might not be able to know what to do. So it's okay. Relax. Leave that. Right. Right. I think we'll have a cup of tea. While we're having a cup of tea, I'm going to find those other couple of images that I can't find. I don't know where I put them during the tea break. So then I can show you these other things. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then we'll talk about a couple of techniques that you can use as well in order to assist. Uh, all right. Okay. So I shall see you in 15.
Okay.
See you in a moment.
See you.
Ah, that song had to be in it for today. Hello, hello. Who's here?
I am.
Ah, hello. I am. Uh, Mary, are you back?
Yes, I'm here.
Hello there. Julianne sent me a message saying that she's now figured out how to listen in using the phone. She also figured out how to do chat, which is why she's done that chat. And she's now driving home from work. So there's a high chance that she won't be able to kind of join us fully, but she'll be on the phone all the time. Okay?
Okay.
There was also something else that said, I can hear you speak, and I think the chat thing, she said something like, how was it? Uh, yeah, I'm driving home in a minute. Da, 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 da. All makes sense to me. I've done your practitioner course, so it brings everything back. Yes, because my literal brain wants to know, what do you mean by everything? Do you mean everything? Right. Okay. Now I have rescued the slides. Yeah, I copied all of them across bar two. These slides, by the way, are taken out of my practitioner manual, most of them. Hold on a minute. There we go. Let me know when you can see this new one here. Should be there for you. Yeah,
Yes, it is.
yeah, you can see that. Yeah,
Yep.
Yes.
yeah. Okay, so here we have a person's psyche, and there's the world and the environment outside of them. External information comes in. The first thing it reaches is sensory filters. So, when sound, has anybody here ever felt music with their body, not just hearing it with your ears?
Yes.
Yes, when you're in,
Like
yes,
being really
when
next
you're
to
very
a,
loud.
yeah, being next to a bass speaker or something, and it's going dum dum dum. You can feel it in your chest, right? What about high pitched noise? Have you ever been near anything that is so shrill that it seems to cause your skin to tingle?
Yes, it's a horrible feeling.
Yeah, yeah. I used to do a thing with people. Well, do you know a piece of music by the composer Grieg called Morning? Okay, it goes
No.
da 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 da
Yep.
da 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 da
Yeah,
da
yeah, yeah.
da 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 da. Yeah. So I used to play that to people and put them, they'd be in a like trance state, and then get them to feel the music with their skin. So they're not just hearing it through their ears, they're noticing what organs in their body the music is moving through. And so you're listening to the music with the whole of your physicality, not just your ears. It's a very cool thing to be able to do that. So you might have heard of a thing called synesthesia. Can't say that when you're drunk.
Yeah.
Synesthesia. That's where a person's neurology kind of experiences something in a different mode. So, for example, sound can be experienced as a color, or color can be experienced as a sound.
It
And that's
happens to me, but not all the time.
right. And that's like exchanging audio for
Yeah.
visual in that
I
context,
see
right?
sometimes when I hear some music, it doesn't happen with all music, but it happens with some music,
Hmm.
especially classical music. I
Right.
see colors
Yeah.
zooming around the place.
Yeah. I
Instead,
mean that's part of the art of concert lighting, or it's part of the art of mood music in a film that lets you know, preempts what's coming, you know. The brilliant Jaws music, dum 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 dum. As soon as you hear that, you know what's coming, right? Or whenever there's anything terrible for the rest of your life. As soon as you hear something go, the violin's going you're in a shower and you're that away, right? Neuro association. But I remember in early days of being in a band, I said to the keyboard player, "Oh, we got to have blue and green lights, no red lights or yellow lights." And he said, "Why is that?" I said, "Because I think our music's blue and green." And he went, but I didn't know why I was saying that. It's just how it seemed to me, you know. So information from the outside world goes through sensory filters, sight, sound, taste, smell, etc. And then it's then internally processed and it goes into storage. Now, the storage isn't necessarily the same modality as the event. For example, someone can see a sunset and it comes in and it's stored as a sound. Ooh, right? Internal retrieval. So we might want to retrieve this stored information. I saw a sunset. Did you? What was it like? Now it was stored as an ooh, but it comes out as an ah, a feeling in their tummy. So how something comes in isn't necessarily the same as the way it's stored, which isn't necessarily the same as its expression when it comes back out into the world. So, for example, I've had conversations with people who have had a fear of releasing anger. And I don't like being angry with people. I can't possibly express the anger I've got inside me. I would be a horrible person if I expressed the anger inside me. And I talked to them about, yes, I appreciate that the original event was anger, but it can come out in a different way. You know, anger can be expressed as art. Anger can be expressed as stumping your foot up and down the steps. Anger can be expressed as running. Anger can be expressed as playing the blues. You know, you can literally dispel the blues by playing them. So the mode of expression isn't necessarily the same as the input of the event. And coaching a person and showing them how you can have a variety of expressions, whether one of those varieties might be shouting at someone, another one might be singing, another one might be moving up and down, another one might be swimming, another one might be baking some cakes, another one might be eating chocolate. There could be a variety of expressions. And the more broader a person's palette of expressions, the easier it is for them to find productive and constructive ways of expressing everything inside them that builds their life rather than crashes it or damages it. Some people seem to have a very impoverished vocabulary, an impoverished emotional vocabulary. So they've only got one or two variations, scream or hit, right? Whereas they could do with just being shown how to have a few more, you know. Um, yes. But because of this input output and the way that it can vary, this means that sometimes you can say something to someone with the wonderful intentions of helping them out, and they react as if you're criticizing them. So you can say to somebody, "Oh, that's okay. I'll help with that." What, you're trying to tell me I'm no good? You ever had that kind of response from anyone where you've offered to help and they've snapped at you?
Mm, nope.
No? Oh, you're lucky. That does happen in the world.
Not in that with that scenario, but I have had a kind of a similar response in a different scenario.
Mhm. Yeah, because some people um, hear an offer of help as an offer of help. Other people hear an offer of help as a criticism because it's suggesting that they're incapable or not good enough or not skilled enough or flawed or failing in some way. And that's bad or wrong. And so to protect themselves from the prospect of being a failure or someone who's no good, they have to deflect the helpful suggestion. And one way of doing that is to bat it away. So that can happen. If a person's very tender about how they see themselves and their relationship with being judged by other people and that kind of thing, if it's an unlanced boil, then they're going to be very tender about it. And anything that remotely suggests, even looks like it's going to hint of a sniff of a criticism, then woof, off they go. Um, yes, so we must be armed and primed. But when these things do come up, oops, don't know what's happened there. Oh, we appear to have gone back to the beginning. Hold on. Ah, right. Bear with me a minute. It's decided you put things out of sequence. We don't like this. We must do things individually. Hold on. There you go. Let me know when this one becomes visible to you.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, this is a tiny bit of scripting. Uh, the first part is from a book by Banel and Grinder on NLP, and the second part. If someone has uncomfortable feelings coming up, You can say something along the lines of, you are having feelings of discomfort and they're very uncomfortable. That's the pace. The lead begins with the word and. So it's this and that, right? And you are crying. And those tears represent pain and discomfort from your past. And you're feeling very uncomfortable. And as you remember those feelings as they come again into your body, I'd like you to consider each of us has in our own personal history many experiences, some of which we label as uncomfortable or painful or unpleasant. Those unpleasant experiences often form the basis for later abilities and skills, which people who have never been challenged by those experiences fail to develop. How illuminating it is to experience discomfort from the past and to realize that you've survived those experiences, and they form a rounded set of experiences from which you can now generate a more adequate behavior in the present. The basis of that is very cool. I find that a bit convoluted and wordy, but you know, my relationship that is slightly different. Um, this last paragraph is a Rowanism. I came up with this kind of thinking that imagine that there is the boil, right? And when you lance it, the pus comes out. It There's only a certain amount of pus in there. Or if you think of the tears that someone's crying, the well in their heart has a certain depth. Might be really, really deep, but it might be shallow. You don't know. But the amount of tears that they have in there has kind of like a finite quantity to it. They might seem infinite at times, but it is finite. Have you ever heard of an Alison Moyet song called All Cried Out? Uh,
Yes.
yes, it's possible for a person to cry so many tears that they literally run dry because there's nothing left in the pot. And that's what we want to encourage. So whereas most people, if someone starts to react and go, oh, I'm right, they try to get them to shut up, you know, because we don't like the sound of distress. So they try to shut up the distress sound because it causes their neural system, their mirror neurons, to go into distress, right? It's a bit like hearing a baby cry. You just want to get it to stop real quick, right? So when a person's got tears and things coming out, rather than get them to go quiet, which is basically pushing it back in, you want to get it out and actually draw it out like litmus paper and draw it out like a magician pulling out the sausages, you know, or the handkerchiefs until they've actually gone dry. And one way of doing that is to use that as a kind of a metaphor. So as you continue to express those uncomfortable feelings, and you can notice that because you're giving them expression, they are now leaving your system. I wonder how long it will take before the inner emotional healing part of you begins to use this process now to allow yourself to find comfortable resolution with those feelings and experiences, the beginnings of inner peace. So the first part of that is a pace. As you continue to express those uncomfortable feelings, it's not just saying as you're expressing them, it's as you continue. So there's a permission, a door opening, right? You can notice, you can, uh, you can enable a person to feel capable. You can do that. You can do this. Right? You can notice. Now, saying that a person can notice something doesn't mean they're noticing it. Someone can be standing beside you and you didn't notice them. Right? So to say there's someone beside you, no, there isn't, because they can't see it. Saying you can notice gives permission for them to find the thing. That doesn't mean they have noticed it. It just brings it to their attention. So you can notice that because that's a cause, because you're giving them expression, they are now leaving your system. So that connects expression with leaving the system. Before there was just expression. Now, the very fact that they're expressing it means it's leaving. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So,
Yep.
linguistically, then, we've connected the behavior of crying with the experience of the tears literally leaving them and the cause of those fears and the pain of those tears and all the nightmare of those tears is leaving them all the while they're crying. And the two are now bound together and connected linguistically. And then there's a question. I wonder how long it will take before the inner emotional healing part of you. That's an assumption that there's an inner part for a start, and that the inner part is emotional healing. Oi, tell me about your inner emotional healing part. What do you want about? I've never even thought about that. But the very fact that you've mentioned it now suggests that it exists. And you're not asking them to talk about the inner emotional healing part. You just have a question about time. I wonder how long it will take before the inner emotional healing part of you begins to use this process. But it doesn't say that. It says begins to use this process now. You see that? A sneaky embedded command. It's not just asking how long will you take to use this process. It's saying how long will you take? Use this process as an instruction. Right? So it begins to use this process. Then it says when to use it, which is now. So I wonder how long it will take before the inner emotional healing part of you begins to use this process now to allow yourself to find comfortable resolution with those feelings and experiences, the beginning of inner peace. So that suggests that they're going to find comfortable resolution. We're not stating what those are. It's got to find its own way, right? And comfortable resolution with the experiences as well, in whatever way that means. And that the act of finding comfortable resolution is the beginning of inner peace. So if you said to someone, you're experiencing inner peace, they might not be. But if you said to someone, because you're breathing more deeply now, this is the beginning of inner peace. They go, yeah. And you're accurately pacing because every journey begins with the first step. So if you said to someone, you're feeling brilliant, they might not be. But if you said to someone, you're at the very beginning of feeling brilliant, yeah, suddenly they can take that on because it's not clashing with their reality. You're at the very beginning of something. Is that clear? Make sense?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you can ask other types of questions. He said, looking at the picture. Hold on. Let me know when you can see that one.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. What are these feelings teaching you? That's a loaded question, isn't it? Because that suggests that feelings teach you. That suggests that you are a student of your feelings. That the feelings you have a purpose, a function, and the functional role of your feelings is to teach you things. And we're just wondering what the things are that you're learning from this. It's interesting, isn't it? What are these feelings teaching you? That takes them out of it and gets them to evaluate it from a distance. It's like a Sagi effect or a Jupiter effect. Right? Likewise, these others. It's going back the other way. Let me see if I can. No, it's not. I. I yes. I have tried to understand why this does this, and I haven't yet found the solution. Right. Also, you can ask, what can you learn from this? That's quite open, and it allows them to find their own dialogue. Uh, if you put any caveats in there, like what lesson can you learn, what thing can you learn, etc., you're kind of straitjacketing the answer. If you just ask what can you learn from this, it's so wide open that it allows them to find their vocabulary. so they'll find a way of expressing it in their own way. And that might not be right now. When you ask questions like this, quite often they're seed sowing questions. And so it can take time to germinate, it can take time to emerge, it can take time to blossom. But that's okay because planting the seeds is the point, rather than an instant, tell me the fruits of this immediately. We have one more question here, and then I'll show you a couple of things. Hold on, where are we? Here we go. Let me know when that's visible for you.
Now,
Yes.
Yeah? Hmm. What will your life be like on the other side of your healing from this? Right. Well, there's a lot in here. Um, First of all, it's presuming that they're going to live beyond this moment in time. What will your life be like? So this is a question about the future. The very fact that you're asking a question about the future means that a part of their consciousness will leave this moment in time and travel forwards in some way. On the other side of your healing from this, uh, you notice that the your word your is misspelled. Yeah.
yeah,
It actually should be you apostrophe re. You are healing from this, but it's got the ownership, right? You're healing from this. So if you isolated that as a sentence, you're healing from this, it wouldn't make sense. You're healing. All right, my healing. It's my healing, right? So this sentence is kind of couched in such a way that it sounds like you're describing their healing, but it also sounds like you're saying you are healing. And that ambiguity, it could mean ownership of the healing, it could mean an instruction, you are healing. So when you present an ambiguity to a person's conscious mind, the person's conscious mind will decide which of the two meanings it is. But the unconscious will respond to every meaning simultaneously. So if you say to someone, what will your life be like on the other side of your healing from this? They start to respond to the words, you are healing from this, which presupposes that healing is going to take place. It presupposes that they are going to heal, and it presupposes that the word this is referring to the experience they're currently having. It's a lot of presuppositions packed in there. But it's a very useful thing to say. Okay? This is just a couple of things. Another useful bit of linguistic thing that can be quite helpful. Um, uh, have you ever found that sometimes people are very concerned about doing something correctly and being right?
Yes.
He said, asking a
yeah.
couple of people who've got umpteen planets in Virgo and another one with Mars in Virgo. Yeah, all right. Yeah. Okay. So, because sometimes people are very concerned about doing things right, when they going to let you know that they've done something wrong or they made an error or a blunder, they can be very embarrassed, they can feel upset, they can feel squirmy, they can feel cringy, that kind of thing, hot under the collar and things. So if someone ever says, well, I'm frightened of having a go at speaking, you can say, oh, don't be a bloody idiot. You could do that. That would make them feel worse. You could say, yeah, me too. Right. And now two people have got the problem, but it doesn't change anything. Or you can say something else, which is, well, that's natural. And they go, it is. But then you've got to justify it honestly. That's the tricky bit. You've got to be alert enough and aware enough of the human condition to be able to describe the reason that something is natural and is a good thing, no matter what the thing is. Right? So it's thinking on your feet a bit. But if someone says, I can't speak to a group of people, say, well, that's natural. They go, is it? Yeah. A lot of people are in your position. And you can say things like, If someone said, "Well, I don't know how to do it, and I feel really, nervous about it," so, well, that's natural. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, given your background and your history, given the life opportunities that you've been presented with, it's perfectly natural for you to find that the world seems like that to you. So what you're doing is you're kind of saying that the lenses of life that they have, the opportunities in life that they've had, the doors that were open, but also the doors that were closed, have led them quite naturally to being where they are now, seeing the world the way it is for them now, hearing through those ears and seeing through those eyes and feeling everything through that heart in that condition with that background. And all of that is natural. And you understand that it's their pathway that's led them there. And if as soon as they recognize that you got that and they go, yeah, yeah, then you can say, and that's that connect with word. And there are thousands of opportunities leading out from this moment in time, billions of pathways. And every footstep you take, there are 360 options of direction to travel in. Every single step has 360 choices. You might not be aware of them, but that doesn't mean they're not there. We are creative beings. We've done this, we've wired up the planet. I can talk to you across, hundreds of miles, thousands of miles even, right? In real time, and even in the past, speaking to you from a history that was once done. We are brilliant at creating things, and as soon as you begin to want to make something different, you'll be able to. All you need to do is just access your creative resources, daydream how you want things to be. Tell your brain, I'd like you to figure out the steps of how to get there and trust your brain, and you'll be able to. So talking like that to people can begin to pace where they are in life with a degree of accuracy, because that's important for them to be able to hear you. You've got to match their reality, right? And then begin to very gradually kind of nudge them with changes. A bit like, that sort of Jupiter saggy thing of going to the end of the garden, then you go to the end of the road, then you go to the end of the field, then you go across the river, and then you go to the beach, and then you're over the ocean, and you're just going layer after layer after layer after layer after layer, forwards and forwards and forwards and forwards. So what starts to happen is that their sense of consciousness begins to travel out and away from their stuck state into a rich place where there's lots of other opportunities, other colors, other doors that they can go through. And it begins to ignite the creative solutions inside them. Maybe not immediately, but it just sows that seed. And then you can just, let that germinate in its own time. And by the time you're talking like that with someone, you'll notice that they start to change. The tears can sometimes become interest. What's he saying? Oh, what's this? You know, and it can be quite an illuminating thing to do. Okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
So all of that was very wordy, very wordy. Ah, all those words. Yeah. No way am I going to remember that, Mr. Rowan. I don't even know if I'm going to remember the gist of it. Right. The good thing is it's been recorded both in the class and also in your memory. It's there. You might not be able to access it, but that doesn't mean to say it isn't there. Okay. Now, how about something that doesn't require hardly any words at all? Right. So, is it possible for all of you to think of something in life that causes you to be slightly irritated, but not in a big way? And that slight irritation might be something that's happening now in the world, or something you expect to anticipate in the future, or something from your past. I want you to keep it private, but just let me know when you've identified one. And it's got to be something that you want to feel differently about. That might be feeling differently about a person. That might be feeling differently about a scenario. Might be feeling differently about a facet of yourself. Whatever it is, just let me know when you've identified one. But it must have a feeling of irritation about it or slight discomfort?
Yes, I've got one.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay. Julianne, I don't know if you're available on the chat speak thing, but if you are, can you let us know if you can think of one? We're going to have to assume that Julianne is unable to communicate on the chat thing. So we'll just take that as a yes. Okay. All right. So what I want you to do is think of that thing that causes you irritation, whatever it is, and just imagine that it's tangible for you. So imagine that you're either encountering it or remember a time when you did. And I want you to notice how you feel in your body. And as you notice how you feel in your body, I want you to notice how your throat feels. I want you to notice how your shoulders feel. Notice your heart, the, the rhythm of your heart, the speed of it. Notice how you feel in your tummy when you think of this thing. And notice how your hands feel. Are your hands open and loose or are they tight? Just notice how your hands feel. Okay, everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah? All right. Now, in a moment, I'm going to conduct your breathing. And what's going to happen is that my hands are going to go from here up to there and then come down again. All right. And what I want you to do is that when I move my hands up in the air, I want you to breathe in. And when I move my hands down, I want you to breathe out. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's all. Nothing else. All you got to do is just watch my hands and breathe in when they go up, breathe out when they go down. And I'll be talking and yabbering at the same time, but just focus on the hands. Okay? All right. All right. You ready?
Yep.
Still thinking of that event or circumstance. I want you to breathe in and hold it and breathe out and hold it and breathe in and hold it and breathe out and hold it and breathe in and hold it and allow your shoulders to relax as you now breathe out. Yes. And breathe in and hold it and relax your heart as you breathe out now. Yes. Breathe in and hold it. And as you breathe out, let your tummy feel warm and comfortable. Yes. And breathe in and hold it. And relax your hands as you now breathe out. Let your hands be loose and floppy. Yes. And breathe in and hold it. And now breathe out. Yes. And breathe in and hold it. And relax your shoulders now as you think of that thing, that circumstance. Breathe out. And breathe in and hold it. And relax your heart as you think of that circumstance. Your heart relaxing. Yes. Breathe in. Hold it. And allow your tummy to feel warm as you breathe out. Thinking of that thing, that circumstance, breathing out. Your tummy warm. Yes. And breathe in. And hold it. Allow your hands to become loose and floppy as you now breathe out. Your hands easy, thinking of that thing. That's right. And just allow yourself now. That's right. Breathe in. And hold it. And breathe out. That's right. Breathe in. And hold it. And now breathe out. That's right. And now, just like you to think of that event or circumstance that you identify. And notice how it feels now. And I want you to notice if it feels the same or does it feel different? And if it feels different, what kind of difference is it? Is it a better difference or a worse difference? And if it's a better difference, in what way is it better? And once you've thought that through, just say the word yes loud enough for me to hear.
Yeah. Yes.
Ah,
Yes.
right. And for you, Mary, was it different in some way?
Yes, it's softer.
Uh-huh. And Sandra, was it different for you in some way?
Yeah. I don't
Right,
feel so agitated about it.
right. That's cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very simple thing. We call it breathing patterns. You can call it anything you like. It's just a name, right? But essentially, what's happening is that you're using a visual element to captivate the person's attention. That's the hands going up and down, right? Because when a person is agitated, their breathing speeds up, as you know. And when a person's agitated, they find it very difficult to concentrate on anything on the outside. Like it's like their attention becomes a bit strayward. It's like they've suddenly got Mercury in Aquarius, right? So one way of being able to captivate their attention is to, in a measured voice, say, I'm going to conduct your breathing, and all I want you to do is watch my hands. Then you tell them what you're going to do. I'm going to lift them up and down, right? And then you just start moving your hands, and very quickly they'll go in with the rhythm of the hands, right? And you just basically, first of all, talk them into a checklist of the biological, physical components of distress and relaxation. So you get them to think about, their throat, their shoulders, the tightness in their hands, breathing speed, heart rate, tummy. And while you're doing the slow things with your hands, just systematically tell them to relax each one of those things in turn. And then do the whole thing again a second time. Only the second time, every time you do each component, mention the thing that they want to feel differently about. And what starts to happen is that the concept of the thing starts to become neuro-associated with the components of this relaxation, from shoulders, hands, breathing, heart, tummy. And so then when they think about it, they've got this new association rather than the old one. Okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's all very logical, really. But sometimes, if a person's got stuff coming up, sometimes it's just not an appropriate time to discuss it. You know, you might be on the way to a meeting or you might be about to go on stage in a theatre, or you may be about to go into a cinema and you've got to be quiet and you can't talk, right? There could be lots of different, concepts or contexts in which it's just not appropriate to talk about something right now. And so that can be something that's quite useful for helping a person to not release what needs to come out, but just to kind of subdue it a little bit so that they've got a coping mechanism, right? Because sometimes a person isn't quite ready to just reveal everything and get it all out. Sometimes that happens in a bang, like an abreaction. Other times it happens in stages. So sometimes change is an event and sometimes change is a process. So one thing that can help a person deal with the beginnings or emergence of things is to teach them that little technique so then they can control their physiology. And it gives them a state of being able to, at will, decide for themselves if they want to feel cool and easy, and they know how they can do it. And it's because it's so mechanical, it's just very matter of fact, step one, step two, step three. It's something that's learnable and therefore it's doable and it's repeatable. It's quite cool. I've got a write up of this. So if you want, if I can find it, I'll pop that in with the recording. Okay? It's like
Yes.
scripting. Yeah.
Thank
Okay. Ready for another one? I think another one and we're done because I don't want to overblow your minds a little bit. Yes. Okay. This is one that's very, very useful for changing our relationship with a circumstance or event that we can't change. So, stuff happens. You can't change the past. The past has happened. Have any of you ever found that things from your past really affect you?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you, Sandra?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you aware that neither of you are affected by your past at all? And,
Yes.
and you never have been.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. Because every cell in your body is all brand new, right? I'm, I know that we are of a certain age and we've got a brand new skeleton, right? We've got new bone marrow, everything. Every cell in our body is brand new, right? Your skin's less than a month old, right? All that dust in your house, that's your yesterday's skin, right? Wow. So when we're hurt by things in the past, we're a brand new self. So how come we're hurt by things in the past? Is it the actual content of the things in the past? Or is it our relationship with it? Is it the memory or how we hold the memory? What do you think?
It's how we hold the memory.
Well, yeah, this is why the psychotherapeutic world detests the NLP stuff and the NLP world detests the psychotherapy stuff. Because the psychotherapy people say you've got to go back to the beginning, you've got to go to the root, you've got to tap into the pain and let the pain out. The NLP people say, no, you don't have to do any of that. All you've got to do is show someone how to think differently because everything is only one synapse away. Whoa. So they'd say that they don't do therapy, they do education. They show people how to think in a different way. So then their problems aren't even problems anymore. I think, in a way, that both of those approaches have a value and a merit, largely because of the social cultural conditioning that people have in the world. So some people, for example, believe that men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and they're different. Some people, looking through brains at microscopes, say there isn't any difference between a female brain and a male one. It's only cultural conditioning. But cultural conditioning is incredibly powerful, as we know, from looking at Jupiter. Because if a person believes something is yellow, it's yellow. And if a person believes it's green, it's green. Because are you aware that there is no colour in the world?
Sorry, say that again.
Are
There's
you
no.
aware there is no colour in the world?
Yes, I've heard that. Yes.
Yeah, from a neuroscience perspective, there are frequencies of monochrome, and our brain interprets those frequencies of monochrome as color. Quite literally, when you see a person of color, you are coloring them. Isn't that fascinating?
It is, yes.
Yeah. And we color ourselves with our attitudes and things too, right? So, in a sense, then, the reality that we experience, both the good stuff, the bad stuff, the nice bits, the horrible bits, all of it, is, in a sense, a fabrication, a construct of our neural design. But part of that design is conscious, willful. I'm in charge of this. A lot of that design is unconscious. There's a part of me that's creating this, but I don't have access to it. And because I don't have access to it, it's scary and it's big and it's powerful and it's frightening. Hence where we were at the beginning. So I'm going to show you a technique that enables you to shuffle the furniture. It doesn't erase your past. To attempt to erase your past would be the equivalent of pushing stuff back down into the 8th house, into the dungeon again. And we don't want to do that because there's enough in there already, right? But it is possible to, for example, just move the chair further away, right? So what I want you to do, each of you, is to think of a different thing that you'd like to feel differently about. Can be from the past, present, future, whatever. And let me know when you've identified it. Okay?
Yes, I've got one.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'd like you to do is look slightly away from your screen and let me know when you're looking slightly away from your screen.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah, good. All right. Now imagine that out in front of you, there is an invisible projection screen, and you can see the image of that person, event, or circumstance on that screen. And let me know when you've got that.
Yes.
yeah,
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you some questions which might seem a bit strange. And I want you to imagine that your brain has controls like the remote controls of a TV set. So I want you to notice if the image of that event, circumstance, or thing is moving or still. If it's moving, imagine you can press a pause button and have it freeze frame. Let me know when you've done
yeah,
that. Okay. Now I want you to notice if it's color or black and white. If it's color, imagine that in the remote control of your mind, you can drain all the color out, all the way until it goes completely black and white. Then let me know when you've done that.
Yes.
yeah,
Okay. Now I want you to notice how you've been feeling about this event or circumstance or situation. And notice what word you use to describe the emotion. And what I'd like you to do now is imagine that in your mind's remote control that there's a volume control. And I want you to turn the sound down. If there's any sound in this circumstance or event, turn all those sounds down. But also turn down the sound of your own voice describing the emotion. And have it go quieter and quieter and quieter until you hear it click silent. And let me know when it has.
yes,
Mhm.
Yes.
All right. Now, I want you to do something a bit strange. I want you to squash the image into itself so it goes 2D and put a square white frame around it so it looks like a black and white photograph. In fact, give it a brown sepia tint so it looks like an old photograph. And now, play with its location. Have it float gently further and smaller, smaller and further and smaller away, far out there. That's right. Now, play with the gravity and have it gently float down to the floor, like a feather settling down on warm air, and follow it with your eye. So now you're looking at it far out there, down there on the floor. And now you're looking at it this way. Is it the same or is it different?
Different.
Different.
Is that a better difference or a worse difference?
Better.
Yeah.
Would you like to keep it like this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very quickly, look up at the ceiling, look at one of your hands, look at the image of me and say, "Thank you, David."
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
David.
My pleasure. So think of that thing now, whatever it was, and how does it sing?
Different.
Yeah. Trivial. No.
Yeah. Now, if you were going to talk to a counselor or a therapist about whatever that was, to the extent that you get the magnitude or depth of change that you've got, how long would you have to talk to them for?
No
Going over it.
idea.
Have a guess. How long do you have to talk to them for? Like half an hour, 2 hours, a week? How long would it take to get that kind of change?
I don't think I would talk about it.
No, but
I
just
was going to say that too. I wouldn't
yeah,
talk about it
but
either.
just
So,
imagine imagine you in a situation with a brilliant professional and it was all okay and it was all cool and you were going to go for it. How long do you think it would take?
don't know, but I still wouldn't talk to them about it.
I don't
Right.
know because I don't know how they would react
Well, okay, right.
or how
Okay
they
then.
would
Don't
what
know.
they
This
would
is
say.
this
Yeah,
must be a marry me thing.
yeah.
It
So
would
how
only take me 5 minutes max, well, not even 5 minutes to talk about it.
right, but in
Hmm.
terms of talking about it enough to actually get the change that you got, not just to
Well,
describe it.
I've no idea.
Well, indeed.
Yeah.
Okay. But how long did we take doing that technique?
2 or 3 minutes.
Right.
Mhm.
So you've had an unlimited amount of therapy in 2 or 3 minutes. Now, you might talk about this to somebody afterwards and say, yeah, yeah, the class was cool. David got us to, show me how to change that thing. Oh, really? Yeah. Wow. That must have taken a while. No, no, 2 or 3 minutes. All right, okay. What did he say about it? Well, nothing, because I didn't tell him what it was about. What? Hold on. You just had like loads of therapy in 2 or 3 minutes and you didn't even describe what it was. How can that be done? And it's very, very simple. You see, your unconscious isn't just recording everything I say, it's recording the angle of the light in your room, the temperature you're experiencing, the angle of your hands, the pressure of air pressure behind your ears. We know there is air pressure behind your ears because otherwise your ears would fly off into space, right? But you have 2 million nerve endings all over your skin, sending signals to your brain every second. And those signals are encoded neurologically: sight, sound, taste, smell, proprioception, temperature, etc. Right? And if there was a piece of music being played right now that you'd never heard before, and then you heard that piece of music 5 or 6 years from now, this conversation would come to mind because that unfamiliar music would become the soundtrack to this experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, I've
Yeah.
had that happen a lot of
Yeah.
times.
One way of testing that is that, there's a piece of music that always makes you feel good, right? You could be having the worst day in the world. You've had an argument with someone, you've lost the lottery ticket, and that piece of music comes on a radio or something unannounced, just happens to come up. And as soon as you hear it, whoa, you feel good. And that's because when you were this small, when you were about 45 seconds old, you didn't know that one day there'd be a piece of music that would always make you feel good. But at some point in your life, between being born and that moment, the first time you heard that music, you were having what might be described as a good day. And that emotion of that good day got attached to that sound. So now whenever that sound is played, the music's played, the feeling comes in your body. Stimulus response, right? It's just that's a nice one. Okay, so uh, your brain encodes things neurologically. And so, what it tends to do is if we are in a situation where we feel small and the world is big and powerful and we're small, and we think about it, what the brain does is it puts the image above the eye line. If there's a situation where we feel in command and in power, the brain puts the image below the eye line. That's why we put the opera diva goddess on a stage and we look up to her, and we put the gladiator in the amphitheatre down there because we have the power of life and death over him, right? That's why they used to carry the Pope around in the air, like Dave Allen. It's a psychological, hierarchical relationship. So if you ask someone, oh, where's your job interview? And they say Smithson Street, say, no, not the address. Where's the idea of the interview? And they go, oh, it's just about there. That's too high. That's above their eye line. They feel intimidated by the interview. But you say, okay, just imagine you can get the image of that interview and just lower it down, all the way down till it's just below your heart. Now suddenly it's a stepping stone and it's not intimidating at all. If we are dissociated with something, our brain will put the image far away. Tell me about your best ever holiday. Yeah, I think I can remember. Too far away. Other people have their nightmares super glued to their brain. That's too close, right? So just imagine what would happen there. If a person had all their wonderful memories floating around their head when they wake in the morning and all of their nightmares far, far away like a postage stamp on the horizon. If an image is in color, we're associated with it. If it's in black and white, we're dissociated. If an image is just sort of there, you're in it. It's what we call panoramic. It's everywhere. But if an image is in a frame, like a border, now we're outside of it, looking at it. So you can be in the situation, or you can be outside it, looking at it, right? Height, so I've mentioned already, is the power. Big power, less power. So what I got you to do was, first of all, turn your head away from the screen so that I didn't get wrapped up in it. Right, that was the reason for that. Right. So you looked at something neutral. You had an image of a screen. You saw the image on the screen. The first thing to do is have it freeze frame. So if it's moving, you make it freeze frame. So it's still. The next thing is to have it become black and white if it isn't black and white already. And then the next thing is to turn down any sound, including the sound of your own voice as you mention, as you describe it. So now you've got a silent black and white picture. And then squash it into itself so it goes 2D and put a square white frame around it so it looks like a photograph. Now, as soon as your brain pictures the event as a photograph, immediately that's in the past because a photograph is something that happened, it's history. But then give it a brown sepia tint. So now it looks like old history. This should be in a museum, right? It's way behind you now. And then I got you to push it further and smaller away, creating a dissociation, and then to have it float down to the floor like a feather, settling on warm air. So that removes its power. And now you've got something that became historical. It's gone far away, so it doesn't touch you anymore, and it's lost its power. Okay?
Yes.
But that's just like writing the Word document. What you got to do is save it. So the next thing was to lock it in your neurology. And the way to do that, or one way of doing that, is to get your eyes to rove over around and then fixate on something. So I got you to look up to the ceiling, look at one of your hands, and then look at the screen and say thank you. And that just kind of plugged it into your neurology, right? And then I tested it by asking you, how does it seem now? And you both found that it was different. It doesn't erase the past. It's not a panacea of healing, but it does show a person how to make something feel different. And that's a cool thing to be able to do. If you remove the sting out of something, first of all, then you can discuss it. And you can discuss it without it being hurtful. And that sometimes is a useful door opening to being able to work something through. Okay.
Yes, when you do that practice, do you
Yeah.
keep your eyes open?
That depends. Some people do, some people don't. Doesn't matter.
So it doesn't matter, right?
Doesn't matter. No. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Some people find it easy with their eyes closed. Other people like imagine something going far away with their eyes open. It actually doesn't make any difference. It's the concept of distance. That's the thing.
Yes, because when I look straight ahead, well, not when I look straight ahead. when I'm not looking at the screen
Mm.
and I was trying to push it far away, it's got to go through a hedge.
Well, yeah. We are surrounded by objects
So
and
it was easier
obstacles. So
to
it's,
close my eyes, and
yeah.
I
Yeah.
can
It's
actually
all
visualize it better if my eyes are closed.
indeed. Yeah. Now, some people feel a bit weird about being told to close their eyes, you see.
Oh, do they?
So,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because some people, I mean, essentially, I used to say to my students, when we used to have like one-to-one therapy sessions with people,
Hmm.
essentially, you're asking someone to come to your consulting room and be within arm's reach of you stealing their bag and their purse. And you can ask this stranger to close their eyes and trust you. That's a big thing to do.
I would think so if you're in the same room, yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's someone
yeah.
you've never met.
Well, indeed, yeah. But because the context is blah blah therapy certificate, they trust it. And they spoke to you on the phone as well, and you
Hmm.
seem like a congruent, nice person, and they're desperate. Uh, so a combination of things conspire to be in the practitioner's consulting room. But
Well, I suppose historically there is this image of the therapist with the person lying on a couch,
mm,
their eyes closed and being hypnotized, isn't there?
yeah, that's a Freudian thing.
Hmm.
Freud had a couch. I've been inside Freud's house in Vienna.
How are you?
Yeah, yeah. They got a bookshop in at the top of the stairs, so I bought a young book
And
in
have they
Freud's
got a
house as
couch?
as an act as an act of rebellion, and his couch is still there. The original, all the upholsteries of it, but the skeletal
Yes.
frame of the couch is still there. But Freud's thing was not just to have someone lie on a couch, but to turn your back on them so that there was no interplay between your unconscious and theirs, which is total opposite of Rogerian therapy.
Well, I
Yeah,
wasn't aware of the back turning thing.
yeah, yeah. How times have changed, you know.
Mm.
But he was doing stuff, before brain scanners and whatever. So, a lot of it was guesswork in those early days. I mean, like, Freud's theories of child development, he figured that out without speaking to a single child. He talked to adults about their memories of their childhoods without actually talking to any children at all. And Young the same. It wasn't till Melanie Klein joined in. She actually spoke to a child. How how risque is that?
Mm.
You know, to talk to the person you're going to help. Yes. So, yes. Have you found this session interesting, illuminating, or useful, or all three?
Very relaxing
Yeah. Sandra?
and illuminating.
Good.
Yeah. Uh, Recapping and illuminating because there's some things I hadn't done before.
Oh, right. Oh, cool. That's cool. Right. So, as we begin to explore our eighth houses, if any of us find some tearful things coming up, then we all know that we can say some things to help them out. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. That obviously you might not be well practiced and you might feel a bit kind of, whoa, I'm going to have a go at see if I can help Rowan out here. Um, but that's the only way to learn is to dive in, roll your sleeves up, and give it a try. Because the other version is just sit and watch them flounder in their despair and do nothing. I remember one of my students was talking to Michael Harrison about someone they knew with a problem, and they said, you know, what would you recommend? What techniques would you recommend I ever go with? Because I want to help him out, but I don't know which ones to use and things. And Michael got talking with him after a while. He said, there is one thing it's good to bear in mind. And she said, what's that? He said, sometimes you can make it worse by doing nothing. I thought, yeah. So I'm always up for having a go because you can't make it worse. Well, you can compound it, but if a person's got a memory coming out, the memories of its own thing, you know, and the emotions that are packaged with it, and there's always some kind of purposeful, useful thing within the act of it coming out. Sometimes that might just be a signal to you that, like I said, that you are of such a person that in the alchemy between you, like in the synastry between your chart, their chart, there's something about you that enables them. You become an enabler of their cleansing, right?
Yes, yeah.
So I often call people with Scorpio rising, Pluto in the first, Pluto in aspect to the ascendant, that they are like walking litmus paper, right? Because every time they're in the company of anybody with any repressed stuff, which is most people, it starts coming out. And because when people are in their company, they start to have uncomfortable feelings in their body, they if they're not a path seeker, they'll go into blame and they'll say that person made me feel bad. Whereas in actual fact, it's their own bad feelings coming up, you know. And so I know some people with Pluto in the first house who feel terrible socially because people are always, feeling weird and uncomfortable around them. And it's not until it's explained that they say, oh, right, okay, so their uncomfortable feelings are actually good things. Yeah, it's just that they don't know it. That's right. You're initiating a healing process unwittingly, and they don't know it's a healing process. And because the pus is coming out the boil, they're saying that you made them yucky. But in actual fact, it's their own yuck that's coming out. Right. What can I do about that? Well, not much. Because if it's in your first house, it's just part of your persona. It's the part of your aura. It's the vibe of your aura is drawing these things out in people. But when I twigged that about mine, my Pluto to the ascendant, it made a lot of sense. And I thought, oh right, okay. So I'll just take that as being a useful thing. So now I find that if someone takes an instant dislike to me, it lets me know that they are at the beginning of a journey of healing. And because they're so early on in their process, it's not a good idea for me to socialize with them. It's unsafe. So as a client, yeah, but as a friend, no. No. That's part of my Mars in Pisces wanting me to kind of avoid violence and avoid aggression with people. So as soon as I sense that someone's kind of getting a funny vibe with me, I'm all right about the fact that to create space. It's a big planet, and that's cool. But in a consulting situation, in a professional sense, it's really useful to be able to have that ability to kind of draw things out. A Romany friend of mine said something to me in 1990, and because I was complaining about the fact that I'm short and I can't reach the top shelf, and I was what 26 years old, and girls weren't looking at me; they were looking at guys with six packs and they're 6 foot tall and chiseled jaws and all this sort of thing. And I wasn't like that at all. I was a scrawny person who was really short, glasses, asthma, you know, didn't know I was autistic. And she said to me that, but what is about you, she said, is that you've kind of got, she said, it's like you've got the humility to allow someone to talk to you and feel safe. And yeah, she said, yeah. So I was doing tarot readings at the time. And I thought, all right, I like that.
Yeah, that's a really nice thing for someone to say.
yeah, it gave me a sense of it's okay for me to be me. I don't have to be a giant. You know, uh, Someone else said to me in 1991, he said, the thing is, Dave, he said, that if your body matched your spirit, you'd frighten everybody. And I thought, oh, that's a nice thing to say. That's like saying I'm a giant, I'm a midget giant in Lilliput. Right? And I thought, yeah, all right, and fair enough. You know, if someone can sense the spirit of me, that's fine. And if they can't, that's probably all right. You know, um, yeah, right. We have explored a little bit about the feelings of things with this. Next week, we'll have an introduction to the eighth house. We'll have a word chain. We'll go through it in a technical sense. We're going to have a review, remember, of the Plutonic myths because they're really, really helpful when it comes to interpreting. And when I do Plutonic readings or Pluto readings for people, I tend to tell them the myths because it actually makes it easier for a person to get a handle on things, you know. But there's all these other layers of the eighth house. Has anybody got any idea what we might be covering?
No, but do we have a class next week?
Okay, I'm going to rephrase it. The next time we meet for a class in the schedule, we'll be
I don't know
doing
what
it.
the schedule says. I'm just,
Uh, Hold on a minute. I'll just hold on.
it's
Let
just
me.
there are 5 Mondays in this month,
Yeah, I know. Hold on a minute. I'm just
and
going to
next
get it.
Monday's the
Yeah,
29th.
yeah, I know. Well, this class is a bonus one uh,
I know that,
that
yeah.
I've thrown in the pot to.
So in theory, we don't have a class next week.
Well, no, in theory, we haven't got a class this week. Uh, Hold on a moment. I'm just looking for where is it? Astrology 2026. Here we are. Pro six schedules. Here we are. What does it say? June. Yeah, you're right. The next one is on the 6th of July.
Good.
Okay. So the 6th of July is when we meet next, and we'll have our intro to the eighth house and find out what we can find out. And then we'll begin interpretations. I'm not sure who's going in what sequence. That might be written in the schedule, and I've just closed it so I can't see it. But uh, I have a feeling that it might take two classes per person. So I've allowed for it to be two classes per person in the schedule. If it
Okay.
doesn't, if it's like we've gone through the whole of someone's eighth house in one class, then fine, right? Uh, but I've allowed it to have space to breathe, just in case there's any kind of depth that somebody might want to explore a bit more. You know,
Okay.
just that one of us has got Mercury and Scorpio, and Mercury and Scorpio, yeah, loves drilling. You know, so I thought it'd be a good idea just to allow that to have its space. So it's not going to be rushed. I think that's quite a good thing to do. You know, yeah. It can be very profound in a lot of different ways. It can be quite insightful in a lot of different ways as well. But it's the opposite of the second. So it has something to do with worthiness and value. There's a relationship with that in there as well. I think we begin to meet some of the Pluto dynamics through this as well, you know, including the occult, of course, that which is hidden. Yeah, that would be fascinating, wouldn't it?
Mhm.
Our relationship with that. Yeah. Hmm. Though, of course, remember the eighth house is only part of the story because you have to look at Pluto, Pluto sign, Pluto house, aspects to Pluto, where Scorpio is, and the eighth house to get the full picture. But it'll be a step into that, and then of course at some point we'll reach Pluto in earnest. Right. Thank you so much for your time this evening. It's been a fascinating thing to do, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I'm glad you feel relaxed. I do as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to lift my hand and move the mouse. Right. Take good care, my dear friends. I'll see you on the first Monday of July. All right.
Okay. Thank you, David.
Take care. See you
Bye.
then.
Bye,
Thank
Bye.
everyone.
you. Bye. See you all on Saturday, whoever's coming.
Oh yes, yeah. Hold on, yeah, I'll be there for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the usual time, 6 o'clock. Yeah,
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 definitely.
brilliant. Yeah, did you see the video that I sent on my solstice blessings video?
Yeah.
Yeah, did you watch it?
Yeah.
Aha, yeah. Well, what I thought I'd do is the bit at the beginning where I talk about the story of it, I'll do that live in the
Okay.
thing.
Yeah.
And did you see a poem that I posted called Star Child? Startide, sorry.
Starter.
Yeah, because I spoke with Helen, and Helen said I could have a song, so
Okay.
I thought the sun song would be really cool,
Yeah.
you know. And I got a poem called Startide, and on one level, when people read it, they think it's a spiritual journey, right?
Hmm.
But it's actually the story of being a drop of water in an ocean
Yeah, sure.
from the drop of water's perspective. So
Uh-huh.
the drop of water rides a wave, and sometimes it sees the sky, and sometimes it goes back down again. And sometimes it goes all the way down to the volcanic vents at the bottom where it might boil, but it survives and then comes back up again. And then at the end, it's rushed along on a white crest and ends up on the shore where it leaves the ocean and it becomes itself.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it's
Do
star tide.
you
Hmm?
do you want a copy of the Lost Ritual,
Yeah,
the summer solstice one, so you could do
yeah,
it on your own?
yeah, okay. Yeah, and yeah, please. And because I got into the second half of the last Mabinogi. I can't remember how to pronounce it.
Mabinogi.
That's it, Mabinogi. Yeah, I'd like to watch the rest, from the
Okay,
beginning.
yeah, fine.
Yeah, yeah,
Also, I'll
yeah.
make you a link through the one that you use when you sent us this video,
Mm.
because I keep forgetting which one you use. I'll go in there and make a link and send you what I've got
Mm.
on the Mabinogi and all that.
Yeah, because I found it it was very interesting, you
There's
know.
more to the Mabinogi, obviously, because there's a lot more books, but we're taking a break from that, and the next thing we're going to do,
Mm.
I think, is Kay is going to do a talk on Reiki
Right.
on the 11th. That was the one which had a question mark is now being cleared. And then after that, we're going to disseminate ritual
Okay.
and
Mm.
find out why we do things the way we do things.
All right. Okay. I'm not that interested in the Reiki one, but the yeah, the ritual discussion I might be.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because
I still got to figure that one out.
I used to do that a lot, my Pluto Virgo nights.
Hmm.
Whenever I'd hear about ritual, I'd want to know what you're doing that for. Where's it from?
Yeah.
Who decided that? How come they decided that? And I used to drive people nuts with it, you know. And
Well, you're not driving me nuts.
yeah, I remember I must have been 21, and what time of year was it? It's around autumnish, coming up to Samhain, possibly.
Yeah.
And I'd gone down to the south coast where a lot of these kind of intercoven things were taking place.
Yeah.
And this was a visit about 2 or 3 weeks before Samhain,
Mm.
and the high priest who used to run this stuff down there said, "Would you like a little read through of what we got so far?" I said, "Yeah, okay." And so there was this kind of preamble, and then there was something about, I can't remember the detail of it. I just think remember there was something about somebody in a tree, right? And I said, "Why is he in a tree?" And this other person reared at me, saying, "You should know your Celtic mythology." Oh, I got really chastised. Right?
The one in the tree must have been Gwydion. No,
Yeah,
Gwydion, no.
I don't know what it
Shay,
was. I don't know what it was, but
Shay Shaw Griffith.
that really had an impact on me. I thought, oh, right, I've got to get my background in place. You know, yeah. So that spurred me into kind of, yeah, looking properly.
Mm.
Yeah. you know.
The stories of the Mabinogi are very, very interesting.
Yeah, well, yeah, I find
In fact, they're actually being taught in Wales in school nowadays.
right, cool. I find the mythologies from most cultures have a fascination for me.
Mm.
I don't know if that's because I've got Jupiter in Pisces in the third, could be, you know. But I just find, and no matter where it's from, like one of my Facebook friends is a lady vicar who lives in Exeter, and her husband's an astrologer, and she's been doing some little Facebook posts about the Bible and God,
Hmm.
but she's been deconstructing sentences back to the original text and saying
Wow.
that with this text, you don't know if this is male or female because in that culture, it was this, it was that, it was that, it was this. So God is actually female, right? And
Well,
and and
coming from a vicar. Wow.
coming from a vicar, yeah, it's very cool. I'll find some of her reels, that some of these things she puts up and send
Hmm.
them to you because they give a real, I find, a very refreshing take on someone who's obviously devout in their way, right?
Yeah.
But they're kind of expanding it, right? And I just find that sagginess, if you like, really, really fascinating,
Mm.
And I've written to her a couple of times saying, I really like what you're doing. I'm on a different path altogether, but I really like what you're doing. And yeah, it's fascinating. I think she did a podcast the other day with a pagan because they get
Mm.
on, they're good friends, they get on really well, you know. So there's a certain, I think, um, when the BBC did one of these reality things back in about 2003, 2004, and they got six disparate guys to go into a Catholic monastery for a month, and the
Mm.
camera's going to follow them, each one, their journey, their path. And they had a Buddhist, a poet, um, an atheist. They had a guy who'd been arrested and gone to prison for terrorism on the Protestant side from Northern Ireland, going
Yeah.
into a Catholic monastery, right? And so the first night there, the cameras are there, and or they're having dinner, and everyone's silent because it's a Franciscan monastery. But these guys are talking, right? And the monks are looking at them, but not saying anything, and then noticing that they're a bit out of step. And the next morning, it was their first Bible reading. So there's the abbot in this uh, room, and they've all got a copy of the Bible, and the abbot starts to read out from a page. And one person starts saying, this isn't true. This is just, someone's hearsay. It wasn't written down at the time. It's 150 years old by the time, and all this kind of thing. Another guy walked off. He just stormed out, and all this kind of drama's going on. And the abbot was just calm and really still. And when the kerfuffle had died down, he said, I can understand that if you read this text with your mind, you can find merit in criticizing it. But if instead you read this text with the eye of your heart, it may illume something for you. And I, wow, if you
Yeah.
read this text with the eye of your heart, and I was just like, give me more of this Abbott, you know?
Yeah.
And I watched every episode. I was just a big fan of the Abbott. He produced a CD of Pathways to Happiness. I bought it. It's in my iTunes playlist.
Right.
Because I just thought I watched the whole thing just to see what he was doing. And the very last episode, there was one of the guy who stormed out. He said he was having a tutorial and he said, I knew it. He said, I knew there'd be someone here I get on with. And I knew there'd be someone I just don't stand. And I can't handle another day. And the abbot just sat listening and he waited for him to calm down. And he just very quietly leant forwards and said, and from whom do you learn the most?
True.
Perfect.
So true.
You know,
Perfect. Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
he didn't get in the drama. He didn't get any yada yada yada. He just waited for all the dust to settle. waiting for the guy to go completely quiet so he could hear him. It just said, "From whom do you learn the most?"
It's true.
Yeah, really cool. Right, we'll have lots of that when we explore this eighth house, I'm sure. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to it. You know, it's a new lens. Yeah,
It's definitely, yeah.
yeah. Our first little dip into the Pluto world, and then we come back up again, and we go into the crazy madness of Uranus. It will be
Right.
fun. It'll be fun. All right. You take care, my dear friends. Stay cool in this heat. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aircons. It's 27 in here right now.
27. Okay. Hold on.
In here right now, and it's what?
Wow.
11
Oh,
o'clock.
yeah. It is 10 p.m. in England, right? And I've got a little thermometer here. I've got one of these in every room. When I was at all Cannings, it was so cold.
Uh-huh.
I bought these little temperature things in a bag from Amazon. And right now it's 29.7 degrees Celsius in my
Wow.
office. And I've got,
I'm looking at my aircon and it says 27, but hang on. It's been rather warm today. But I heard it was even warmer in UK.
yeah. Well, see, the thing is that
Um,
your physiology is acclimatized to that. You
yeah,
know, and not just as an adult, but as a baby, you were born there. So
yeah.
your whole physiology is geared up to knowing how to deal with this temperature. But
Yeah, we
my,
get 30 up
but
to 34 in summer.
poor old Mary's isn't right.
I know, poor thing.
Yeah. Do you know how cold it is in Scotland? Right?
Yes, I love Scotland. That's why I love it, because it's cold.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but here we can get temperatures up
I
to 34, 35 in summer.
Oh, well, it's
no.
going to be 34 here tomorrow, Sandra.
Just imagine you're in Gibraltar
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. Like I bought a couple of pedestal fans last year, which are really cool. So I've had a fan playing on me all the way through this, but you can't hear it on the microphone, right?
Mm.
It's
What
just
happens is that the houses here are built
well,
to
it's
be
it's just
cooler.
a 20 decibel thing. But when it got warm about a month ago, I thought,
Hmm.
so I bought another two, and I've got one playing across my bed, and there's another one uh, downstairs in the living room as well. So that because they're quite bulky, and I can't carry them up and down.
Yes.
So every single room has got a pedestal fan in it. So as I move from room to room, I just switch the fans on, and it keeps me cool. You
I
know,
bought one of those portable air cons, and it
right?
can get really cold with them.
Yeah,
It was worth it. It will do a room and a half, I would think.
right. Cool.
And it's got wheels on it, so we just wheel it around.
All right, that's useful. Yeah. Did you get it on Amazon?
No, I got it locally here.
Oh, okay. Could you type its product name into a WhatsApp message for me?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, just so I can begin to have a little bit of a look and see what they're like. Because
Yeah.
although these fans are great, they are unidirectional. You know, you've got to be in front of it, sort of thing.
No, this will
Oh,
just actually cool down the whole room.
right. Yeah, I can imagine how useful that is. Right. We are beyond time in this additional class. Thank you so much, my friends. I shall see you next time. See you in July. Take care.
Bye.
July.
Bye.
Aye.
Thank you for watching this fascinating window onto life through this fine and ancient art of astrology. And there's more content on here to explore. And while you like and subscribe to the channel, if you find yourself wondering who is this guy or who is the person presenting this, please check out the primary welcome to the channel. It talks about my background and master's degrees and more than 35 years experience as a practitioner and teacher of astrology. Until next time, I wish you peace and good health and take very good care of you. Bye bye.